And if anybody zooms in, I will let them in. We don't have anybody.
Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and call us to order since we have a quorum. I will call to order the May 5th, 2022 City of Saugatuck Historic District Commission meeting, and we will start with roll call.
Stryker,
Here.
Leo, Canarsa,
Here.
Jennifer not here, Stanton,
Yes.
Pinozo,
Here.
and Patterson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is agenda changes, additions, or deletions. Do we have anything updated? Next is approval of the minutes from the meeting of April 7th, 2022. Thank you so much to Nico, Jennifer, Dan, and Keith for carrying the water on that. Does anyone have any questions or a move to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Okay. Do we have any public comments? Nope. Do we have any unfinished business? Nope. Why don't we revise our order a bit and go to the second item on the agenda, 233 Francis, since 450 Culver is not here. Does that work?
All right.
We'll get you in and out.
Perfect.
Want to give us a quick little overview?
Okay. There's. Okay, actually, Cindy, if you go back just to. I'm sorry, because we're gonna visit that second. So let's keep going and I'll tell you where to. Okay.
I can fix that.
We have the packet in front of us too.
All right. So the house in question is 233 Francis Street, and that's the house right there where the arrow is pointing. And I'm going to discuss with you two things. One is what I consider to be some minor alterations to the facade of the house itself. The second is the actual demolition of the existing barn shed in the back, which you can just sort of see the light garage door. And we'll go back to that other picture. So if we could proceed. The two things that I want to address are, number one, there's a secondary or a chimney that was added later. I believe it's a gas fireplace on the side of the house and the three windows in front. Let's talk about the chimney first. Next slide. So on the other side of the house, the driveway side, the lower picture on the bottom is just kind of a standard brick chimney. It's a secondary chimney. It's been there forever. The side chimney in question, the gray one, as you can see, is sheathed in, vertical board that's coming apart and basically falling apart. So what the Birds would like to do is sheathe that chimney with a facade material. It's mortar and brick, but it's
Veneer.
Like a
That's
half,
thin brick?
half brick.
Thin brick?
Exactly. And with the color in order to match basically the existing chimney on the, the west side of the house. And then we can keep going. So what they would like to do on the second floor of the house, and either you can look at the things in your packet or we can go back, is they would like to replace those three squat little windows with the vinyl shutters with windows of that size and shape, which I saw somewhere that the house was from 1898. Those windows, the existing windows, were clearly added later, and I don't think they had vinyl shutters in 1898. And I just think that those windows, in as much as this is considered a contributing structure, I think those windows are aesthetically a lot more in keeping with the original design and just makes for more pleasant facade. And they would have mullions, three-dimensional mullions, and they'd be basically metal clad wood windows. So that's the house. Do you want to stop and discuss this before we go on? Or?
No, I think if you do that level of overview on the garage, well, then we'll just do the whole thing,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
So let's go back then to the roughly existing garage. It's like something you could buy at Lowe's. And what they would like to do is replace that with a two-car garage with a apartment up top. And I guess, actually, maybe we should go to, well, I'll give you the facades.
Yeah.
First. Oh, sorry, stop at the one before. And just, this isn't particularly interesting, but I just wanted to make everybody aware of the fact that the new structure would accommodate the existing, the setbacks, which are 7 feet and 10 feet. The new structure doesn't exceed the coverage of the, what's allowable for the lot in terms of percent coverage. So, and it's not higher than what the maximum is allowed. So the front, now we can go on. The front would be clapboard with the white wood trim, basically matching the existing house. Now, one thing I was not clear on, and I've never been clear on, if it's a separate, I know what the rules are if you're building an addition in terms of the siding not matching the existing house. In terms of a secondary structure, does that rule still apply? Because if it does, we're happy to do shingles, and I'm going to show you both. So basically, the material that they would use would be LP Smart Side or a similar thing, which is a wood composite product. It would, and I had samples and don't know, I didn't know them. It would not have the wood imprint or anything. It would just be the matte finish, flat. Asphalt roof to match the existing roof. There's a shed over the garage door, which would be a standing metal seam roof. The garage door would be a wood panel door, pretty much what you're seeing right there in terms of the design, glass and panels. Then going to the, this is the elevation facing Mike Minster's house on Butler Street, and that's basically kind of straightforward. That's the back, south elevation. There's a door into the garage. There's a utility in the middle there, and then the three that's in the apartment upstairs. And then finally, the east elevation, same thing, entrance access to the garage. Next, this is what it would look like. That's with clapboards. And then a street view, so you could see it in relation to the house. That's what it would look like. And then finally, if the historical commission would prefer that it not be clapboard and match the house and shingles, it would be shingles. Same material. And of course, the trim is wood.
Awesome.
And that's the dog and pony.
Thank you for the overview.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. So we'll go around the room and each contribute, and then we'll have a bigger dialogue. It looks like someone just zoomed in. Brian, if that is you, just know that we changed the order when the first application wasn't here when we started the meeting. So we'll be right with you. Keith, any clarifying questions or comments?
Yeah, the existing home structure you said was shingled?
No, it's clapboards.
Yeah, okay. Because I wasn't understanding your comment that it was going to be, it could be shingled if we wanted it to be.
My understanding of the rules are if you're building an addition, the addition has to be a different material. Does that same rule apply to a secondary structure?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a rule. I would call it additions or changes or additions of other structures to a contributing structure. You usually like to distinguish new from old. that can be in a variety of ways. It could be material, it could be color, it could be window pattern, it could be scale. So
Okay.
generally, yes.
They would prefer to do clapboards and match the house, but the shingles, it's not a deal killer here. It's like, if you guys come back and say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'd rather have it be shingle."
I think that rule you're referring to is right, but it usually is applied if there were an addition to the front of the house,
Okay.
on the
So
street
then it
elevation.
obviously looks like it was not part of the
Correct. I think it's less of a concern when it's in the back of the elevation off the street level. So it's probably, I don't want to influence anybody, but I don't think that's,
Okay, but in any case, if it does matter to anybody, it's,
Okay.
we'll roll with it.
all right, Keith, keep going.
Yeah, and it looks as though all the windows, you've got the windows that you're replacing in the home, and those, they all have the same size and proportion you commented on earlier, instead of the modern style where they're not, these ones are taller and narrower with same kind of windows used on that structure versus the home too.
Yes.
Okay.
So they'd be wood, aluminum clad
Okay.
windows with 3-dimensional mullions. And just to your point, the windows on the, I get my directions screwed up, on the west side of the house are shorter because that's a kitchen area and a bathroom, but it faces somebody's garage, so it's not.
Right.
Basically, you never see it.
And I'll let somebody else talk about the garage door. That's one of your favorites. I'm all set.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
The three windows from the front of the house now that you're gonna pull out, those aren't being repurposed for the garage, are they?
Frankly, I don't even know. I mean, I know that they were added later. I don't even know how old they are. And what condition they're in. And then basically, the whole reason for doing that on the front is really two-part. They would like to reconfigure those 3 windows that are in the master bedroom of the house, and they'd like to reconfigure that room. And the window placement is part of that strategy, but also aesthetically, they just think we all think that those just look better.
Anything else?
Agree that taste is subjective.
Yeah, as far as the roof line, I like that it matches the roof line on the house. And then you said that the garage has no historic value.
Oh,
It wasn't, it seems like 80s or something,
Yeah.
70s or 80s, would you guess? I don't know.
I really think it does look like almost like a do-it-yourself kit. or
Yeah,
something. And
yeah.
it's completely, from a structural standpoint, it's not salvageable. And the foundation is shot, and
Sure.
it's basically useless in its present form, because they did consider at one point adding on to it, and it's one of those situations, and I'm sure you guys encounter this all the time. It's probably cheaper and going to give you a better to just tear the thing down and start new,
Sure.
because it's such a.
The brick material that you plan on using on the other facade, is it actual like brick where you're like cutting like a brick in half type thing,
No,
or
it's
it's
sheets.
sheets of brick?
What's that name of it? I'm losing my mind. It's,
Is it like fake brick or is it real brick is what I'm wondering.
It's like a veneer, right?
It's a
Oh,
veneer,
no.
thank you.
Yeah.
But is it brick material? though?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
stone
Yeah.
Okay.
and concrete.
Okay.
and it's concrete. If you want to see an example of it, for instance, the next time you walk by Bodie's, those stone columns in the front of Bodie's are this
Yeah,
material.
and it's that
And it's,
matching red color of the other chimney.
And that's the one, I just want to assure you, that's the one I picked, but in the final analysis, I'm gonna need to probably get some samples and stand in front of the house to match it
Sure.
as close to possible as what's there now.
Sure.
To the degree even that if they had to tint the mortar or something to make it look like they matched, we do that.
Sure.
But we just want to get as close a match as possible to the existing
That sounds good.
chimney.
And then my last question, just with the new windows up top, having the cross What's the terminology?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Does the commission care if that doesn't match the windows down below? Does it, because they're new, does it matter? I don't know.
It usually depends on, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule on that. Is
Okay.
the short answer, because of those being existing condition. Those, and we aren't really looking at that. We're looking at what's the total effect of these new windows with the existing condition.
Good.
Plus, the windows on the porch really are my drawings, well, you can look at the photograph. You can
Yeah.
see. I mean, they're basically store windows.
No, that was it. That's
Yeah,
all
there
the
you go.
questions I have. Sure. It looks great. That's all I had. Thank you.
John?
I think those windows up top are a huge improvement.
Yeah.
I think the brick is a great improvement. I'm wondering about this window here. What are those things on the side right there? Is that the shape of the window currently? And then those, what?
Oh, those are shutters.
They're shutters.
What are you looking at?
Uh,
Yeah, the
This
little one down below?
this one.
Yeah.
Page 26.
You can see it
Right
there.
there.
Well, that's
Right there,
the-
you just,
Yeah, it's a shutter.
is that staying?
Is it what?
Is that gonna be there? It just doesn't,
They can take them off if you want.
oh, those are existing and you have them on your
Yes, I'm
rendering
assuming-
too.
I'm assuming when whoever it was put those 3 windows on the top floor, they put that window in. Those are the only 4 windows in the house that have any shutters.
Okay, and then the porch material, is that T111 or is it board and batten?
Or the bed.
So you already have one different siding. So I think if the homeowner wanted the garage to match it, it seems fine. The shake sure looks nice, but we can't tell you what to do on that, I don't think. And the garage door, you said wood, but it's shown as white, so you're gonna paint a wood door? Oh. I mean, it's very impressive. But we usually we're arguing for, against fiberglass stamped looking white doors, and white happens to me to be kind of
This is,
the worst
This
color
is-
for the fiberglass
this is
ones.
what they found. I mean, not in that size, but it is a wood door.
Nice,
It cost a fortune.
very nice.
Oh, it's
Oh,
really
wow.
nice. It's terrific.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Except in a double version.
Yeah,
That's
that's
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah, those are awesome.
That makes a big difference.
Do you allow fiberglass doors?
Yeah. I mean,
On a
yeah,
new
I've
building.
approved them, yeah.
If they couldn't source this in the exact size that they need, would that be an option?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be part of the application, so they can't just do that. It would need to be.
You have to come back and
Still
say,
have
can
to,
we have a fiberglass?
you'd still have to come
door?
back and it would need to be approved.
Some of them have like really bad windows. They just don't, there's different levels of the fiberglass.
I
doors.
am frankly, as a designer, shocked at what there is out there.
Okay, right. And how people don't see the difference sometimes.
And simple to me is best, but
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to be.
I don't have any other comments.
Okay. If I just pick up on the garage door thread that you put down. So I think that wood door really elevates the quality of this, and being a contributing structure in the front, I love that they did that. So for the guidelines would say on new construction, yes, they would allow fiberglass, but it's more about embellishment. So a fiberglass door that's not embellished and in excess is more acceptable than, you know, arced windows, fake wrought iron things, handles and all that stuff. That's
The
what,
stamped look that you're
Yeah.
avoiding on the siding could be avoided.
anything
there.
that replicates history that's not authentic is more important to not do, especially on a contributing application than, but that looks amazing.
I have to say, just as an aside, the one thing that drives me crazy, we just built a house a couple of years ago and the garage door is fiberglass and it has a wood grain stamp on it and it just makes me insane.
So it was, thank you for also for on the siding that that's not stamped, because that's not something we approve for the same reason. So Hardy or Elf, whatever product that is that Cindy can approve, that cut sheet would need to be part of the application, as well as the cut sheet on the window. And I just want to make sure we're talking the same language. The windows we call that simulated divided light, which is like this. So it's a grid, and it's a little piece in between, correct? It's not snap-in mullions. You're not talking about that.
I'm talking about, for instance, I spec'd for them gentlewood windows, and I can't remember the model number. It's actually one sheet of glass, but there is permanently affixed to each side, interior and exterior, a three-dimensional mullion. It's not a snap-in.
No, I'm with you on that. But the difference between putting those on the outside on one piece of glass and that with a spacer in between, which is what these windows are. So they have aluminum in between.
Yes, that's what
Okay,
these-
so
Simulated divided.
simulated by light. So if you could just make sure Cindy has a cut sheet with the application that says that, because the bad thing would be is if it's actually just a grid
Right,
affixed to the
airspace
glass.
in the middle.
And then you look to the side and you see two grids. That's what you don't see on these, and that's what we want. Okay.
No, they definitely have, it's, again, it's what I have in my own house, and they definitely have a spacer.
Awesome.
It looks, the one you have is just like these. The
It's just-
divider,
it's
the-
exactly like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay. Double hung with this, two light on
Right.
each panel, each piece of glass.
I agree with what everyone has said. I mean, these windows look like it should have been
Yeah.
versus what's there now. In those little skinny shutters. Thank you.
They
for
don't
that.
have to keep the
Taking
shutters.
those off. My only other question is about the doors. So just making sure on the garage structure that, are those wood doors? Are they fiberglass? Are they metal? And what is the glass condition in those, in the person doors? Making sure that that's not a fiberglass door with sandwiched glass.
Right.
That's also simulated divided light if you go with that 6 grid pattern.
The door, actually, the door that they would like to use is exactly like that, except it's 4
Okay,
divided lights, not 6. What are the requirements on that?
the same as the windows.
Okay.
So especially if what you're sharing with us is the quality of the windows and that matches our guideline requirements, and the garage door, which has the quality that you're talking about, the window openings in the doors.
Same thing with the mullions. Now, what about the material for the doors? Can they be fiberglass or not?
I mean, or you apply for what you want to apply for.
Okay.
We typically shy away from fiberglass,
Yeah.
but we've approved it. We've approved metal. Again, it's more about non-embellishment
Yeah.
and not stamped raised
right
panel
now-
fiberglass.
Their intention right now is to do wood, and it's just a matter of sourcing.
Sure.
So assuming that we can source those in wood, you still want to see a cut sheet for the windows, you want to see a cut sheet for the,
Yeah, so we would be, if we were to make a motion on this tonight, which we will, we would be putting in that
Okay.
provisionally that we approve blah, 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 under the condition that, because like, if you're saying it's really 4 divided light, not 6 on that door, that cut sheet needs to show the type of
Right,
window and it needs to
exactly.
say that change. Because we don't want to go back and see something different than we approved. So those were my only thing. Like, I really feel like you've made, like, in many cases, unfortunately, you can make a non-contributing property. We try to make them more non-contributing. You've made a contributing property, in my opinion, more contributing with this change, so that's good. And with the addition, I think, and I don't feel strongly about the shingles. I think if the owner is applying for the same siding, my opinion is that's fine since it's at the rear of the property.
okay.
So anybody else have questions or comments?
There's one about the approval to demolish a structure. Do we have to do something special for that? Do we have to say we will allow that for
It's-
HDC?
It's in your packet. The standards for that is in your packet. But I think you should say something about why you're approving the demolition of the garage. Unfortunately, when the contributing and non-contributing structures were identified, they weren't they didn't call out the garage as a separate thing, so I think a lot of things that were said here are very appropriate for that. One is that structure might not be contributing.
Yeah, I
If
think there's
it's
a lot of
newer.
examples where the outbuilding is actually more contributing than the structure, where we would hate to see that go.
Right, this is not one of them.
Right.
Right.
It's sort of like I always use Dykstra's garage
Yeah.
as the example of super contributing. I think it's attached, so that's a bad example, but
All right. Okay.
one last question on the actual photo. There's a little peak above the door, but on your render, there's not. Are you getting rid of that?
No.
So you're keeping that?
Yes.
Okay,
I apologize.
Yeah.
That's an oversight.
it's okay. Would anyone like to make a motion? With what they heard? We take a run at it?
Yeah, we really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Skip to the Page. Like to make a motion to approve application P-HIS 22007 233 Francis Street as submitted with the following conditions. That the applicant will supply cut sheets for window manufacturer and window style and opening for all new windows and placement on the house and the structure. That the demolition of the ancillary structure, because it's deemed not a part of the contributing property and it's non-contributing, with to confirm that the siding will be the manufacturer of your choice, but flat, non-stamped on the house and the garage, with all other materials as submitted. I said, did I say not say doors? So with the window comment, I'll add the door comment, cut sheet for the doors. Thank you. Capture. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? Anything we missed? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Good to go. Thanks so much. Thank the homeowner for us, for making a really nice improvement. Okay, we will go back in time and go to 450 Culver Street. It looks like our applicant is on the phone. Mr. Hogan?
Yes. Yes,
Hello.
I'm here.
How are you?
Good.
Do you want to give us a very brief overview? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You're putting a shed on the back of your property, so I'm not sure how much more of an overview you
Yeah.
want. Anything else you'd like to say about the application?
No, not really. I think you guys can really see everything we want to do, and it's pretty simple. You're right.
Okay. Just want to mention that Brian and I did have a conversation about this, just more about procedure on how applications work with the commission, what guidelines he should pay attention to and look at. So we had a phone call a couple months ago. We'll go around the table and ask if anyone has questions about the application or the shed or the placement. We'll start on this side this time. John?
Do we know what color the shed's gonna be? I mean, I don't think we care about the color, but is it are they pre-finished?
Yes, it's pre-manufactured, and what the picture that you guys have is the color it's going to be. It's the exact same color as the house.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. All right.
So on this, will a cement slab be poured underneath it? Is that,
No,
Typical?
they'll level it right on the driveway, the asphalt.
oh, there's existing asphalt. It's going on existing asphalt?
Correct.
Okay. I was thinking it was at the back of the property where the fence line is. There's a fence back there, correct?
Yeah, yep.
The end of the driveway, right?
Pardon me?
Is it the end of the driveway?
Yes, it's at the very back of the driveway, 10 feet off of that fence line.
So can you see it from the road then? Okay.
Yes, you will be able to see it from the road.
And is that something, I mean, again, I'm new to the commission. Is that something we typically are not in favor of, or how does it matter? How does that work?
I guess one way to look at it, I'll just sort of speak from guidelines, is it's not good or bad.
Okay.
You would first look at, is this a contributing property? And then you look at, if you see the structure, it sort of amplifies the view of what the structure is. So if this were behind the house, behind a fence, commission may care less about it than if it's straight on. But the idea of yes or no, you can or can't place it there, there's no rule about that.
Good. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. I'm good.
I'm good. No questions.
No questions.
I think because of that question, Lauren, that's kind of where my mind is. I don't mind it. The window is like a sliding vinyl window, which kind of bugs me because it sort of speaks to the quality. If that were like a little fixed barn window that had real divided light, it would improve that sort of quality that you do see from the street, from a main elevation. Or if the doors weren't quite so fussy and if it felt like an outbuilding, it wouldn't bother me as much. So the fact that it is at the end and like you look straight down and see it isn't my favorite. But Brian, you probably didn't put it in the backyard because you have a fence to the right that's fencing in your backyard, right?
I do, correct. Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me at all if it were behind that fence and behind the house, but I don't want it to feel like it was sort of dropped from a skyhook at the very end of the driveway.
Where you expect a garage in a house like this, with this stature, it's a big,
Yeah.
it's a prominent house, tall. It's not my favorite either, but I don't know if it can't be in the back of the house. There's no guidelines that say otherwise. It just seems like a garage would be there.
Well, sort of, if I pull that thread, like what's in my head is to that, it seems like a garage would be here. A garage doesn't have to be there, but because of its like small structure and prefab nature, it almost feels like it's trying to be a garage. And then you like notice it more, that it's not in a way.
I was thinking, I didn't know how to say it. You weren't very articulate either.
Yeah. So it's sort of like the last
What,
application. Like if you saw that, yeah, if you saw that at the end of that driveway, it'd be very clear that it's an ancillary structure. So I think we're trying to, like on a contributing structure, we're trying to not make it feel like a prefab shed, to be honest, but I understand what you're trying to do here too. What were you gonna say, Brian? Sorry.
Tim, if I turned it, would the perception be different then?
I was thinking turn it sideways.
It would.
So
Yeah.
Is there a window on the side?
So the streetscape wouldn't be so,
It's a great question.
noticeable.
Yeah, that's a good, because it might feel like a garden shed then. This looks like a garage door, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's a mini garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would
Brian,
have no issues with turning that sideways. That's probably gonna look better, to be honest.
Yeah.
hey, Brian, is that, as you're looking at the shed, the right-hand side, not facing us, but the side, does that have a window in it?
Mhm.
Is it the
No.
same window? It doesn't?
No,
That'd be perfect.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Because that mitigates like the little sliding vinyl window and you don't see that from the
Yep.
street. It's also kind of part of the problem. So if there's no window on the right and you turned it 45 degrees from like if the front left corner is turned 45 degrees to the back.
Basically, so the doors are facing towards his grass.
Yes.
You're looking at the side from the streetscape.
Yeah. Yeah.
no, the doors would be facing towards the art center.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, the
Yeah, so you can
opposite.
get in there and
That's
get
fine.
stuff out. That's
Okay,
fine.
that's fine.
Like that.
All right.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm gonna actually put a window in the front of it either.
So it's not as shown?
I went back and forth and I don't think I'm going to put that window in the front of it by the doors. It's just gonna be one solid piece.
Okay. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion on that?
I make a motion that we approve the application as submitted for 450 Culver Street with the condition that the shed is turned 90 degrees with the doors facing toward the Saugatuck Center for the Arts, and the window is eliminated. That is an option on the shed.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Have a good night.
Take care, you too.
Next item, any administrative approvals or updates?
Yes, we had an administrative approval for a fence at 880 Holland Street. And the planning commission requested that the fence around Wicks Park be reduced from 10 feet to 8 feet. Wicks Park Bar and Grill,
Oh, got it.
remember
Okay,
the
yep,
tall
sorry.
fence?
They wanted it reduced from 10 to 8.
Yes,
And originally it was 10 because they wanted to match.
they wanted to
Um,
match the other fence and they wanted to mitigate any sound issues, although there was a lot of discussion about that.
Yeah.
So that's different.
That
than
meeting went
880.
till 10 o'clock.
So two different
Yeah,
things.
two different things. Sorry, I was confused. So 880 is the southerner,
Mhm.
correct? Okay. And then the Wix thing.
Oh,
remind-
I'm sorry. I was confused.
Remind me, the 8 wasn't behind, sorry, the 10 wasn't behind the 8, was it? It was next to? So there was a 10, they were trying to match a 10, or was it 10 and 10? That making sense?
No.
Okay, so I think they were
have
butting up a 10 to
different-
a 10.
Different fences around that property because part of one is a fence enclosure around the swimming pool. And it's, the bottom of the fence is raised like 4 feet above the grade.
Okay.
So
Okay. Anything else on administrative?
nope.
Any communications?
Nope.
Any more public comment? Any more commission comment? All right, I'd like to, anyone have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Cindy.
Very happy when I walk by that shed now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that was-